My name is Rana Adib, and I'm the research coordinator of REN21, which is the Renewable Energy Policy Network for the 21st century. It's a multi-stakeholder network. We're talking about ourselves as the Coalition for the Willing, and we're working together for the energy transition towards high shares of renewable energy or 100% renewable energy.
Okay, and what are you doing here in Bonn at the climate conference? What are your objectives for these days here?
Very clearly meeting many people, raising the awareness for the importance of renewable energy, and the COP is really a very good opportunity to also not only talk to people basically who are already convinced of renewable energy, but also working on the Nexus to transport, agriculture, industry, cities, etc. So we're particularly interested in transport. So do you have any particular messages or observations about renewable energy in transport? Sure. I think, yes, one observation is that we really have an interest to work together because from the energy side we need to address the transport sector, which represents approximately 30% of the final energy demand, and to decarbonize energy we need to address the transport sector. From the transport sector side, it's very clear that reducing transport, modal shift, efficiency will help to address, but for a last part of this, if we really talk about 100% decarbonization, renewable fuels are very important. So this is something which is a good message or a good news. However, what we also see is that from the energy and the transport side, we have different entry points, and there is clearly a need to have more integrated approaches, to have joint infrastructure planning, joint policy design, innovative business models, and that we probably need to basically bridge and strengthen the dialogue between the sectors.
Okay, so those sound like great objectives, but what would be some concrete steps that we could take in the next 12 months to advance this agenda?
Concrete steps, I think, is already starting to report where is it happening or not, because what we have done, for instance, we looked a bit into the NDCs, we looked into the analysis which has been done from the transport sector on sustainable development goals, into policies existing. We see, for instance, that e-mobility and policies are rather pushed in an implicit way. So there is the countries which are pushing for e-mobility also have renewable energy targets. However, we only identified, for instance, Luxembourg, which really has an explicit policy where this is coupled. So here I think it's raising the awareness for the fact that there are opportunities which are not tackled yet. So I think that's a lot about having the right data, information, spreading them to the different target audiences. I think another very important activity which is necessary from the transport side is in the analysis of the relevance of the SDGs to the transport sector. For the moment, on the energy side, the transport sector comes to the conclusion that it's the efficiency target which is relevant. But we are clearly convinced that the renewable energy target is also highly relevant to the sector, and that's really a political message which needs to be out there.
Is your sector doing anything specific to try and influence the NDCs?
From REN21 side, we're not really doing something specifically on the NDCs. However,
facilitative dialogue?
I think this is what we should really kick off more on this transport energy nexus, and that's really also something where SLoCaT and REN21 could, for instance, work together. Or also on the initiatives, I think you have launched the Transport Decarbonization Alliance. So I think that under the transport you have good initiatives and umbrella initiatives also, under which it might be interesting to really see how we can shape basically an energy component. On the energy side, very clearly what we are doing concretely is to try facilitating this dialogue. So we are producing for the moment a report, for instance, with IEA and IRENA and REN21, joint policy paper on integrative policies more and new policy classification. And here we are covering the transport chapter, and we really try to also bring in the entry point and the vision of transport people to the energy sector. Because very often from the energy side we clearly see it's about awareness raising. We always talk about there are great synergies, we can use the batteries. It is partly taking place, so there are also some good examples. Nissan is doing it, for instance, but it's not enough and information is missing. So I think it's about information, but also bringing these stakeholders together from the two sectors to really see how we can really collaborate.